Now let's talk about assessment. Where do you get the marks? Well, the first place you get marks is on the quizzes, because it's very important that you understand all the topics. There are a number of quizzes. Each quiz is marked out of 10, and the total of that is scaled down to 15 marks. So if you work it all out, each quiz is worth about 2 and a bit, just under 3 marks. So if you miss one, it's not a major drama. It will sting a bit, but is not fatal. The elective topic quizzes, you get to choose any two out of 4 of the topics. You should know about at least 1 and preferably 2 specialized architectures, and so you get to choose 2, any 2. And I will take the best 2 marks. You can take all 4 quizzes if you wish. I will still take the best 2 marks. And they are scaled to 10, so each quiz is worth 5 marks. The major topic. Now the major topic, the major project is in teams. It's a bigger effort. You work in teams of 4 to 6. I found that works reasonably well. It mimics roughly what happens in industry, where it's actually very difficult to get 6 architects working together on a problem. You tend to break it down to a team of teams. The argument for 6 people, the maximum of 6 people, is that you want a team that can collaborate and coordinate their efforts without a lot of bureaucracy. Now, more than 6, you start to have to organize it, and somebody has to start to direct everything. At 6 or less, you can just talk to each other. So that's the reason for 6. Industry seems to have discovered that, and will adopt that as well. Now, you have to not only develop the architecture, but in the end you have to produce a report that your tutor or your marker gets to mark. Peer reviews. The whole idea with peer reviews is that your group presents your work to another group. The other group reviews your work and gives you feedback and gives you marks. You may think that's unfair and unreasonable. In my experience, peers review work about as well as I can. I think in any one circumstance I probably could review it slightly better. At least I would claim so, because I'm supposed to be able to do that. But my experience with peer reviews is that they actually work extremely well. You get excellent feedback. The main complaint I get is that the other group marked us harshly. Whenever I've investigated such claims, the other group has marked them according to the marking scheme, but so many people are so accustomed to mark inflation that they expect to have a mark of 5 out of 5 just for opening their mouth. That's not true. 5 out of 5 is for superb work, excellent work, work that's so thoroughly explained and thoroughly clear that it cannot be improved upon. That's seldom true. So peer reviews generally should mark at 3 out of 5 for each category of the thing. Anyway, I've used them for a number of years. They work extremely well, and I will use them again this year. Now, the motivation for giving a peer review is that the whole purpose of it is to gather informative feedback on the work that you've done. Now, I can't sit around and listen to all of the reviews going on in the room, so I can't assess them at all. But what I can do is I can look at the reviews that have been submitted, and I can tell if any one review is not useful. That is, there are no comments at all, or the comments are just general motherhood statements. You know, oh, it was really good. Well, that doesn't help anybody. So if I get a review like that, I delete it. And that person does not get any marks for their group's presentation. Now that hurts. So people generally do that a few times and then figure out that it's serious, and there is, there is, I guess, it's pretty hard to argue that somehow you should be given your marks. No, it doesn't work like that. The exam. Now the exam this year is an open book exam. All of this faculty's exams are required to be open book, and in thinking about that, I think that's simply going to make the exam a lot harder, because where in the past I could reasonably ask you about some of the advanced topics with a certain amount of memory work involved, so could you recall and describe something, now I'm going to have to test whether you can actually apply that in a realistic context. So that's going to be more difficult. So the exam has always been in two parts. It will remain in two parts. The first part is to assess how well do you understand and can apply basic architectural practices. Generally, I give you a collection of sequence diagrams and ask you to do something about it. And that just generally assesses whether you can work under direction. Do you know enough about software architecture where you could join a software architecture team and work as directed? And if the answer is yes, then you should pass. The second part is intended to assess your advanced knowledge. And can you work unsupervised to develop an architecture that achieves its requirements? That needs a bit more talent. Now the exam overall is worth 40 marks. As well, you must gain more than 20 marks in the exam in order to pass the subject. So this subject is an X grade subject. You must pass the exam because that's one place I know that it's going to be your work, and you must get 50% in the exam in order to pass the subject. Now, how to get good marks, how to do well? Well, surprise, surprise. It's no different from this subject to any other subject. The answer is turn up, do the work, engage in the subject. Right? Just the same as it would be with the gym. Turn up, do the exercises, do your practice. In general, the marking criteria that I've used in a lot of subjects and a lot of different circumstances remains pretty much the same. Things are marked on a scale of 0 to 5. 3 is competent work. 3 out of 5 is competent. That is, it's commercially acceptable. You could put it in place and it will work. It may not be the best, but it will work. To get 4 out of 5, you have to be able to explain why that's the answer. Why is that the alternative? Now, the reason for that is that in industry, so many people go off and they produce something. It doesn't actually address the problem concerned, but it is a something, right? And it's a workable something. To answer the problem, to address the problem that you were given, you must explain why this particular proposed architecture actually addresses the problem and where it addresses the problem. That's worth 4 out of 5. Okay? So one way of expressing it is, I can see how you got that. To get a 5 out of 5, you have to address the objection that, oh, I could do it differently and it's better another way. You have to explain not only why you got what you got, but why that's the best alternative. Now, generally that means you have to produce several different alternatives, or at least one alternative, and say, well, this could also work in these circumstances, but it's not suitable for this circumstance for these reasons, and this is the best answer. That's worth 5 out of 5. So that's the general marking scheme. 2 out of 5 is where the work is not too bad, but it just needs a bit of correction. So it's kind of thing, well, yeah, fine, go back and change all these things, and then we'll be right. 1 out of 5 is this is not acceptable at all, go away and do it again. And 0 is you didn't submit anything. So that's the general marking scheme. It works well. I retain it. It's generally quite understandable and does manage to distinguish good work from ordinary work. So that's an introduction to software architecture for 2018. I hope you enjoy it, and I'll see you in class.